Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me is Phil Mackintosh, Chief Economist at Nasdaq, for an update on the latest COVID-19 news, the U.S. and global economies, and how markets are digesting the news of reopening the economy. And Phil, it's interesting, as you pointed out, 1/3 of S&P 500 companies have reported earnings. 85% are beating, well above the long-run beat rate of 73%. That's pretty good considering expectations were not good for second quarter.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember that almost 50% of companies in the S&P 500 stopped giving guidance because they couldn't really understand what was going to happen with their businesses with coronavirus. So the analysts have been unusually bearish, I guess you could say at this point, and we've been positively surprised by how companies are actually doing. It's interesting to sort of parlay that into stock returns. I mean, obviously, we're only just starting the earnings season now, but in the last couple of weeks, you look at the returns of sectors, and it's definitely an old economy recovery that's being priced into the market more recently. So you've got industrials, materials, energies, even utilities are outperforming some of the other sectors, which sort of speaks to the fact that I think people have seen the fact that we know how to get coronavirus under control and the fact that we are working pretty well on vaccines right now. And maybe we're going to get some of these old economy stocks back more closer to normal faster than originally hoped, I guess.
Speaking of COVID-19, let's get an update on our data here. And it's the Sunbelt states seeing a bit of a recovery, although still tens of thousands of cases each day, but it's starting to spread a little bit more remotely.
Yeah, so it's, a bit sad in a way, because just as the Southwest and Sunbelt states start to get their new cases under control, you're starting to see some upticks in other states, whether it's Maryland or Illinois or Alaska. There's a lot of states that were previously not on the radar that are starting to see an uptick in cases. And when you put them side by side, the number of cases, it's kind of consistent. It's in the hundreds of new cases every day. And now we're starting to see the death rates tick up in those southwestern states too. Obviously, it takes 3 or 4 weeks for somebody to either recover or, for coronavirus to make them really sick and potentially die. And so we're starting to see in California and Florida record deaths every day. So it's not good news on that front. And it's a little bit, I guess, from an economic perspective, negative for confidence, the fact that more states are potentially going to have to slow down their openings or look to do some other things that are more socially distanced than they've got to so far.
Yeah, and if we take a look at these two charts here, it's really interesting because you see uneven recovery when you drill down into jobs, industries that are hiring, and then you also have your industries with the highest rate of unemployment.
Yeah, although there's a little bit of overlap in the two scales, actually. So you've got transportation has a lot of unemployment, but it's also one of the best industries hiring right now, which I think speaks to sort of more of a V-shaped recovery, but a really big dramatic sell-off in that industry to start with, and then a recovery that's faster. Same with education and health. It's in both of the charts. There's a little bit of an overlap where some of the sectors that got hurt the most are bouncing back fast, but that's from a very low base. But you can see here pretty clearly, whether you're looking at unemployment, there's different impacts across different sectors, where you're looking at the bounce back and hiring right now in terms of how fast things are coming back to normal. It's definitely an imbalance that you're kind of seeing across different stocks. And obviously, we talked about the sector returns. There's some industries that are much more affected by coronavirus than others. And it's important when we're looking at stocks we want to buy to consider that and work out where the future is going to be for those companies.
All right, Phil, thanks as always for joining us on Trade Talks.
You're welcome, Jill.
And thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.